We both look terrible.
No, that's good because that's what I was shooting for.
Well, we're no fashion models, man. I mean, you know.
If I was fashion, I wouldn't have car parts at my house.
This is what I'm saying. We're late. What time is it?
Oh, it's almost 7:30.
Is it really?
Yeah.
See, that's why nobody's here.
Yeah,
people
well, they're all like, what is wrong with these guys?
The hell with you people.
I'm thinking we got 2 people in, but they're not showing up. George Bonnie, number 1. Eric, let's see, Jason Fitch, Chris, what does that say? Freemesser? I need my glasses.
Yeah. Put your glasses on. Nuts, Tristan Lowe, Ford LTD 1976, Anthony Cox, Bryce D. Castro. I'm seeing new names here. Doug Narden, what's happening? No Fear the Dougster is here. Oh God, Paul Capizzola, what's happening?
We're late, guys. We're late. Okay, we got it. We know.
Yeah. It's been a long day. People think YouTube is easy, like it just happens, just like that. They don't realize, like for every 1 hour of video, for every 10 minutes of video, it's like 10 hours of background stuff that has to go on.
Did I tell you that I started like a whole series of oiling modifications on a Buick V8, and I got done with the first video was 2 hours and 38 minutes long, right? And I'm like, there's no way anybody's gonna watch this. Right?
So you have to cut it down.
So I chopped it all up and edited it all down, and I got it to the point where it was like 42 minutes. I'm like, all right, let's split this sucker in half. So there's one of them that's like, I don't even say goodbye at the end of the video. Nothing. It's just like, that's it. Yeah.
But sometimes you have to do it like that. Oh, look, Uncle Kathy is on. Well, we call her Applesauce now. Her new name is Applesauce because it's so much nicer.
I thought it was Ultra Kathy.
It was Uncle Kathy, and then there was like this gender confusion about that. What do you call her uncle, right? So it's all right, fine. It's Ultra Kathy. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it kind of makes it sound like she should be wearing a cape, you know, and have goggles. You know what I'm saying?
Right? Yeah.
Ultra Kathy with goggles.
Part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right?
So applesauce is so good. You know, it's like
sweet. Right?
How
nice,
sweet is
right?
applesauce?
Yeah.
Right? I hate applesauce.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I can't imagine eating.
My grandmother used to make applesauce, and it's like if I think about it, it's like one of those things that will make your mouth salivate, right? Like there's nobody in the world that's ever going to duplicate my grandmother's applesauce, but she used to make applesauce, and it was like I'd look forward to it every year.
Yeah, there's just something about it. I used to feed it to the kids. And I'm like, how are you eating this stuff? And then I realized it's because I'm shoving it in your mouth. You know?
Yeah.
But applesauce is a very sweet name. And, you know, we got pudding on the Junkyard Jet team. So now I got applesauce and pudding. Right? How Southern is that?
Pudding, huh?
I'll be drinking from the hose pipe before you know it. Let's see. She should wear a cape. She's Superwoman. She does it all. You're right, Mr. Will. She really does. I mean, like this video we just put up, there's like 7,000 edits in that. And honestly, and she was able to make all of those edits while screaming at me about other things. So I mean, she's a Superwoman.
I've had them edited so bad before, where you look like you're doing the robot, right? You're like, you know, and it's just bad because it's like virtually one chop after every word, and just try to piece it together.
Wayne Buzzle, I gotta see. This is great, and I am gonna do a video on this, but I just not yet, okay? Because this is something I've been thinking about, and yes, absolutely. Wayne Buzzle, Tony, how about the theory that someone can hack your modern car and remotely control it? Yes, of course they can. See, that's the thing that like people don't. You know
right.
I mean?
Well, when you get that button in there, OnStar, how may I help you? Right. They're checking diagnostics of your car through that stupid thing, right?
Yeah, but any kid, literally any kid who just wants to like bust balls can get into your computer and hack it. You know what I mean? The car, the car is a minimal security thing. It's not like this.
Oh, no. It would be just like your 60s, 70s car. I mean, all she needs is like a pocket knife and a dime, and you own this sucker.
Or even better than that. How's this sound? Okay. Watch me get banned from YouTube now. Okay. This is how I'm going to get banned from YouTube. How about mischievous kids with homemade EMP devices?
Oh, and just wiping cars.
Yeah, there's nothing. There is absolutely nothing to stop a malicious 16, 17, 18, not even malicious, just a what do you call it looking for?
A douche of a person?
Mischievous.
Oh.
There's nothing to stop a mischievous teenager from whipping together like an EMP device.
Right, especially one that won't do any damage. You just walk around with it in your pocket and
just shut cars off as they drive down the street. I mean, there's nothing to stop them from doing it right now.
The fabricator says there's no way someone can hack into your car and control your car.
Bullshit. Okay, let's see. Serge, I've been wanting to ask this all week. Should I keep my fuel tank empty, full? Should I use a stabilizer while I park for the winter? No, if you're parking for the winter, you don't need a stabilizer. The gas is not going to go bad for in the course of 3 months. It's not going to go bad. It may turn a little brownish, right? You know, that's what happens after about a month or two. It'll start to turn a tad brown, but it is fine.
Generally, not in freezing weather does it do that because of the humidity level so low.
Yeah, more of it is going to evaporate than is going to turn bad. I mean, I've had gas. My Charger, the black 66 Charger that's at the house, 67 Charger that's at the house. The gas in that thing, the last time I drove the car was about 2 weeks ago, and the gas in it was at least 6 months old, because the last time, whatever time the last time we used that car for a video is the last time we put gas in it. And it ran fine. It ran perfect. No problem.
I tell you what, I worked on this 63 Buick LeSabre. This guy had me put a mower and stuff in it, and it hadn't ran in 11 years or something ridiculous, 9 years, you know. And he said, you're probably going to have to pull the tank and drain all the gas out. So I get all the gas out. I got it in a 5-gallon bucket. I take it to like 8 different places. Nobody will take it. You cannot get rid of it. Right?
Old gas?
Old gas, nobody will take it because you can't run it through the system at the.
It's a weed killer.
Well, so I'm like, man, okay, it's bad, but my Suburban does hold 40 gallons of gas, right?
So dilute it.
So I filled it up with like 35 gallons and then poured that stuff in there. It ran. I mean, it would smoke a little bit, but it ran fine.
I do exactly the same thing. If I have. You pull gas out of a car and it's like, oh, you know, it's kind of like I did that with Plan Z.
It was like brown.
There was like 5 gallons of gas and it was like brown, right? And I was like, okay, well, so I took a gallon of it or so and I used it for shop gas, and then the rest of it I just poured a gallon at a time into a full tank in the Cherokee, and it just burned it through.
Yeah, run right through.
Yeah. Mark M, thank you for the super chat.
Yes.
Carburetors for the win. Yes.
Yeah.
Carburetor Nation.
But what's funny is Carburetor's still winning 50 years later, right? So
the carburetor will ultimately win. Our ancestors will sit here, right? I'm serious.
I know. I see it. There was somebody posted a meme the other day. It said, when all of your EVs break down, someone's going to break out a carburetor.
Our ancestors, you mark my words, you younger guys, anybody in here, you know, we'll all be dead in the next 10 or 20 years, okay? But you younger guys, you mark my words, you get to our age, you get to your 50s and your 60s, you will be working with carburetors. I'm telling you, it's going to go full circle, and it's going to be like, no, carburetors, guaranteed.
Yeah, well, Slant Daily Garage is saying no name nationals.
Yes.
That's what we announced last night.
Dallas, tell our people about the no name nationals.
All right. Well, it's an actual event designed around the content creator on YouTube, right? We're trying to gather all the content creators in one place, and we're going to have all out. It'd be more or less like a good time. I was going to say a race, but the race probably is going to be secondary on this one.
But there's going to be a bracket race. There's going to be grudge races, right? Call-outs and stuff like that.
Match races, burnout contest, and then we got the Monkey Bike Challenge, right? So where you use a Coleman CT 100U, which is the technical name for it, and then you virtually buy this thing at Tractor Supply, and you can show up and be ready to go. Now, there is modifications allowed, and we do have the rules, I believe, posted. John Wilburn's posting them up on his on the page. I'm hoping so. But if not, hit me up, and I got the entire rules for the Monkey Bike Challenge, and it's real simple. We tried to keep it as basic as possible.
We're gonna talk about it more in a bit. Let's get a few more people piled in here, and we'll go over all of the details of that. DD Speed Shop. I owe you a thanks for the kind words on my video. You don't owe me jack. Just keep being the amazing you that you are, brother, man. Mostly all parts. That's Ron Ward, announcer available. Ron Ward is an official announcer. He's a real announcer. He does land speed announcing. He does all sorts of stuff. So, and he's in the area. So
Okay. Yeah. Well, Ron Ward was wanting to do it, right?
That is Ron Ward. Mostly.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Because he had just messaged me, and I just messaged him back a few minutes ago.
John Wilbrand. Yep. Community post. Okay. Monkey bike. That's those mini bikes that they sell at Harbor Freight. I got a text from Applesauce.
It doesn't even sound right. It doesn't even sound right.
It's an article from Zero Hedge. This is Connect. Hang on 1 second. This is an article from Zero Hedge. Posted today, Wednesday, January 12th. Hacker claims to have taken control of 25 Tesla cars worldwide. There you go.
Done. Oh yeah, I agree. Danny Boyd says applesauce, right? And I'm thinking
applesauce.
It should be SAWZ sauce.
Applesauce. Okay. Let's see. Ryan Rink. Uncle Tony, I have a 64 Dart with a slant and push button auto. It stopped shifting out of first and sometimes put no power down at all. Fluid looks perfect and is correct level. It stopped shifting out of first. It's a 64 Dart. Okay. It has a, okay. On the 64 Dart, the kickdown, right, or the throttle position sensor is mounted on the linkage right by the starter, right? Check that the link didn't fall off of that. Let's see. Did he try to call me? What's this here now? All right. I'm catching up here.
225 slant 6. You know, today is 225 days until the no-name nationals.
225 days till the no-name nationals.
Yep. So we got slant 6 day till the no-name nationals.
Okay, let's see. David Leonard, thanks for showing us that your Dart gets better fuel economy without a vacuum leak. Listen, I tested it.
Who would have thought that?
I put it together. Exactly the way they showed on the instructions. Even, I tell you what, on the instructions they show, because I know it's going to come up in the comments on the video, and I don't really freaking care. But on the instruction sheet where they show the water bottle, they show where the line goes in, and they show the hole on the top.
Is this like a hydrogen atomizer thing or whatever? Okay.
Yeah. So it shows the water bottle, shows that the washer bottle in the illustration is about 3/4 full. So on my water bottle that I used in the car, I filled it to about 3/4. I want it to be like exactly as they showed it in the illustration.
Oh, Abel D's asking, Dallas, do I send out my Buick engine blocks to get bored out? What's the largest engine bore you've done? Oh, man. I don't send them out to be bored unless they absolutely necessarily need it, because the machine shops are packed to the rafters, and they have been since the beginning of COVID-19.
I'm anti-boring, period. I don't like the concept. I don't like the idea of boring engines. It is an absolute last resort.
Right. And but the Buick, it depends what you have. Big block, they don't really like much more than a 40 overboard. They're already so flimsy. Now that's different if you're looking at a 400 or a 430, which has a lot more cylinder wall material to begin with. They'll go out quite a bit. But the most I've ever done, I had a Buick 350 block sonic checked, and it would have handled 130 overboard. I've never taken it out that far. It just sonic checked out to be 130 overboard is what I could have gone from a standard board.
Here's the thing with boring, okay? You pick up minimal cubic inches, minimal importance to the cubic inches that you pick up.
But strength.
Yeah, the strength you're giving up. Not only are you giving up the strength in the cylinder wall itself, but you're giving up strength in the deck. Because on a cast iron block like we use, the deck and the main saddles are tied together by the cylinder walls. So the thinner you make the cylinder walls, the less integrity the block has. It became the standard over the last 20 or 30 years. And everything gets bored across the board. Just bore the freaking thing 30 over, and that's it. But it was done that way out of expediency, because when you're a high volume engine place, you can't be checking each bore and okay, this is good. We're only holding this, only bore this cylinder, only clean. You can't do that. So it just became the standard thing. Cut it 30 over, bang, throw the pistons in it, bang, you're done.
And if it's already 30 over, go 60, and that's it.
Right. If you go back, if you read literature from, let's say, from 1980s back, okay, nobody bored engines unless it was necessary.
They did, and there was pistons available for like 5 over,
right,
10 over,
right, minimal bores or minimal cuts, right. And so what happened was, if you had an engine that had a cylinder that needed to be bored, you would bore that cylinder, and you would just put the bigger piston in that cylinder, and the rest of them would be standard.
Remember me calling you, and I had that 300 Buick on the stand, and it's like I pulled the head off, and I look at the number 1 cylinder. I'm like, oh, 30 over. The motor's 30 over. It's got brand new pistons in it, right? And then I get to cylinder number 3, and it's standard. And 5 standard, 7 standard. The rest of them were standard, and the whole motor was the one cylinder got bored 30 over. And I imagine the only reason they did that was because it was scored so bad they couldn't just ring it and bearing it.
Ryan Ring, thank you for the super chat, and yeah, let us know. Thank you, my brother. Mike Batista says you don't bore a motor off of cubic inches. I don't bore a motor off of cubic inches, but lots of people do. If you talk to any novice hot rodder, they're like, I got to bore the engine. It's the first thing they say. It's bored and stroked. No. So yeah, if you're in the know, it's one thing, but to a novice, they automatically think, oh, you have to bore the engine. That's one of the things you do. And no, that's not one of the things you do. Anytime you bore an engine, you're hurting the engine. You're not improving the engine. You're hurting the engine. Now, like I said, if you go back to, like he was saying with the Buick, if you go back to the 70s, the 80s, it was very normal that you had one bad cylinder that was like scored or whatever it was, and you would bore that cylinder, and you go 20 or 10, 20, 30, whatever happened to be, to clean it up, and the other ones would be left alone. Everything that's been done today, like this mentality of, oh, you have to bore it, is something that's only evolved over the last 25 years or so, 25, 30 years, and it's only done for expediency's sake.
Yeah, I tried to stay away from boring. I mean, what was interesting is when I took apart that 400 Buick, and it's virtually the same casting as the 430 and the 455, right? But the cylinder has a 1/4 inch more material in it, 1/4 inch per cylinder, right? So think about that. I mean, like, you got a 1/4 inch per cylinder times 8, right? So in 4 cylinders, you got 1 inch more material in the block. You have 2 inches of more cast iron material in the entire engine.
Okay.
Imagine the structural rigidity of that engine compared to the 455, which would have a 1/4 of an inch less each cylinder. That's a lot. Yes, you can sleeve 1 cylinder.
Oh, let's see.
And if you're a pro stock racer from the 1970s, you can sleeve every cylinder.
Dakota Sims, working on a 318 Magnum for my daily, trying to spin the oil pump new with a fast corded drill. Can only get 2 to 3 psi out of it. Is that good enough?
Something's wrong.
Yeah, something's wrong.
Check, make sure it's not sucking air.
I would.
It sounds like air, like it's sucking air, like the tube isn't in correctly.
That or the bypass inside the pump.
Oh, it could be, jacked open.
Yeah, I recently had that. I had a pump. I had an engine that had just 0 oil pressure until you revved it up, and the needle would jump up to like 25, and then as soon as you took a foot off the gas, it would pop right back down again, and it was a stuck bypass. Take that oil pump is very easy to take that oil pump off. There's 5 bolts, on the cover. Take the cover off, drop the gear and the rotor out of it, and if you look all the way in the back, you'll see a chrome piston. Okay, and what you do is take some light oil or gasoline and pour it from one chamber to the other. When you're looking at the pump, you'll know what I'm talking about. You'll see like 2 chambers there. Pour the gas from one chamber to the other, and if you see it leak over to the other side, then you know that the bypass is stuck. That's probably what it is.
And you can probably just clean it up and put it back in, and it'll probably work. I don't know how. Can a Mopar, can you disassemble it?
Yeah.
Can you take the bypass out? And the bypass and the piston.
Yeah, it's a bitch to take them out on that. On the big blocks, it's easy because it's just
Right. It's like the Buicks, right? Where they're external.
Yes, it's external.
Right.
On the on the small block, the bypass is held in place with a freeze plug, with a core plug.
Oh yeah.
And there's like a cotter pin that they stick through there as like a
So it
safety.
doesn't back out, right?
Right.
Yeah. So there's an easy way to get that out. If you take that pump and it's got that freeze plug in there, drill like a little small hole in, like an 1/8-inch hole, and then run a decking screw in there and put a carpenter's hammer on it. You can pull that whole entire plug out. And then you can probably get your bypass loose and all cleaned up and put it back in. Make sure it moves freely. But when you go to put the plug back, because you can buy another one of those plugs, you can go down to the parts store. They probably cost 75 cents. And then just drive a new plug in it.
Crispy Claps. Is a 650 CFM too big for a stock LA 318 with just intake, carb, and headers? It's not too big, but I tell you what, here's the thing with those 318s. They use such a small cam. It's a tiny cam. It's like 390 lift. I don't even know what it is. It's like 210 degrees duration, 208 degrees duration, and it's like 114 degree slope separation. So those cams are tiny, and you're gonna bolt headers on it. It'll help you a little bit. You bolt intake on it. It'll help you a little bit, right? But that cam won't allow enough atmosphere to go through the motor to even use that 650. So the 650 isn't too big, but honestly, if you want to wake a 318 up, you have to change the cam. The factory put those cams in there for taxi cabs and just grocery getter cars. You have to change the cam in a 318 to get any type of results out of it.
Mostly old parts, which is Ron Ward, right? Yes. He's asking, have I ever had any good luck with GM G or A body slapper bars, essentially, and a hot bar, right? Using those on a GM A or G body. I've never used those ever. What I have used is heavy springs from a wagon of that same generation. So if you had an A or G body, just get A or G body station wagon springs that are progressive, right? So like towing spring, or what are these called? Cargo coils.
Cargo coils.
Yeah, cargo coils and an adjustable shock. That is what I've had the best luck with on the G body.
Where is that? Patrick Johnson, any more thoughts on the Whiplash cam in the 318, 87 octane okay at stock compression? You want my thoughts on the Whiplash cam? Watch the video that we just put up today. Like I put it up like an hour ago, right? Go watch that video. That 273 has the 273 318 Whiplash cam in it, and it's a stock compression motor. Listen to where that thing runs. And we've run that car on a G-Tech, and it's like a 1550, 1560 quarter mile car. And it's got no compression left. I mean, it just there's like a blue cloud that follows that. You get on it, and it's just like a fog bank that follows that car down there.
Wore out,
right? Yeah, but it's a mid 15-second car with basically a stock 273. The heads are not touched, and it's just the cam, intake, headers, and it's got a 600 Edelbrock on it, carburetor. And so if you want my thoughts on a Whiplash cam, go watch that video. And that cam is just amazing. It's the perfect cam for that engine.
Kelly B saying, build us a 401 nailhead Buick guy. And I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, has this guy ever watched anything that I've done? Because I don't even own a nailhead. So I'd have to go buy one just to build it for you. And I have enough projects on stands right now.
Zach Winter, thank you for the super chat, Zach. I was wondering if any slant 6-point distributor will fit my 225 slant in my 83 D150. I plan to add an old school bed of a truck to rebuild the engine this year and plan to ditch the Lean system. Yes, but here's what you have to do, okay? They changed the distributor mounting in 81, okay? So here's what you have to do. If you take a points distributor or even an electronic ignition distributor from a 1980 and earlier engine, you'll see that it's got a slot in it, and that slot takes it's a 1/4-20 bolt that holds that down to the block. Well, in 81, they changed it to a 5/16 bolt, and it's further out. So what you do is grind out the outside of that slot. I don't have any way to illustrate this. I wish I had a way to illustrate this. So you're looking at the distributor plate, okay, and you see a slot, all right, and the bolt goes through that slot. So what you do is cut the outside of the slot. So it's just a flange now, okay? And then use a 5/16 bolt with a big washer on it, and you can drop the point distributor into the 81 block, 81 and up block, and it's fine. You'll be good to go. But you have to grind away the outer part of that slot.
Tyler saying, can he pop a 340 cam in his 318 without issue?
Yes. Yes. Okay.
The Kickendale's here.
The Kickendale is everywhere.
Yeah.
The Kickendale is all everywhere.
Were they at our last live? I don't think so.
Well, sometimes the Kickendale comes in other forms.
Oh.
Yes.
I did not realize that.
Yes.
Kind of like as Gozer comes with the Ghostbusters.
I've never seen that, but yes. Let's see. 340 cam would make that 318 scream. No, it doesn't make it scream, but it wakes it up. And you don't even have to be the 340 cam. The 360 cam is the same thing. BS Custom says there is no Kathy, only Zool.
That's Ghostbusters.
Oh, it's Katie Best. What's happening, sweetheart? She's a refugee from my old coffee house days.
Oh, really?
Katie, do you realize it's been 20 years? It's been 20 years since we had the grind over here on Memorial. Let's see.
What does that say? Roll B68 says keep the good work and the discussion is great.
Well,
discussions are
thank
great.
you. Joe K. Steve Magnanti is making some good videos over at Classic Car Deal and Ace Cars for Big Dollars. He's on fire, right? Steve is on fire. He's doing great. I'm telling you, he will have, I'm going to say he's going to have 750,000 to 1 million subs within, I'm going to think about a year. He's going to catch on fire because he covers okay, here's the nice thing about Steve's videos, right? Okay, so you could be like a drag guy, right? But you're still interested in history, like automotive history.
And he knows.
Right. You could be a street racer. You still have an interest in automotive history. You could be a show car guy. You have an interest in automotive history. What Steve Magnanti does is he covers he covers the world of things that interest all gearheads.
Yeah, anything that rolls and goes, he pretty much knows about.
Yeah. So I'm telling you, Steve is going to own YouTube. He will absolutely own YouTube.
Well, you remember when we did the video with him for Funny Car, for the AHR Drag Racing History channel?
Right.
Oh, he was, and he's not an avid drag racer, but gosh, did he know all the stuff? And it's like, good Lord, Steve. But he was big into the model building when the Match Bash cars were big, right? AFX cars were big.
Jason Sitch, it'll blow Steve's mind when he finds out how many folks are into his material. It's blowing his mind now. We talked after the show, and he's like, I can't believe the way this is being responded. He's like, I won't speak. I don't want to speak for him, but he's very impressed with the response and the reception that he's gotten on YouTube, and I think he sees the light now.
Tristan Love is saying, hey, UTG, what trans other than 727 will bolt up to my 360 LA? Wouldn't a 904 bolt up?
Yeah, a 904 bolt right up.
318, 316, the same bell housing pattern. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, you'll have to change the flex plate. The flex plate is different from a 727 to a 904, but yeah, absolutely. The 727 904 small blocks have the same bolt pattern.
Los Cadaver saying he blew up his 215 powered Eagle.
Oh, is that bad?
Do you need a 215?
There you go.
I just so happen to have one. High compression, high performance one.
Jason Fitch, good. If he's impressed with the turnover, then he will keep at it. Well, Steve is a professional. It's what he does for a living. He's a professional journalist. And the thing about YouTube is it gives you a chance to be your own boss. There's no editor. There's no advertising people. There's no deadlines as far as like material itself goes. There's no red tape to fight through, which is why I would get into the magazine business. I'd stay there for a few years, and I'd be like, no, there's just too much aggravation. I don't want to deal with this, and I would go off and do something else again. And Steve stayed in the magazine business, evolved into the TV end of things, but he didn't realize just the impact, the reach, and the money that could be made on YouTube. Because you can make some good loot on doing this. It's you would be surprised.
Stoic Steel says UT in Dallas. Should Chrysler make a new wedge V8? I'm kind of tired of working on the new Hemis.
Yeah, it's done. It's done.
I think all the ship has sailed for that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to start making Italian EVs. Or wait, no, who owns Stellantis now? It's not even Fiat anymore.
Oh, who the hell knows? Satan himself owns. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't care.
Yeah.
Fubar just put up the links to Steve Magnanti's channel, so go over there. Definitely subscribe. Don't even look at it. If honestly, if you're not even familiar with him, don't even look at what he does. Just go subscribe and ring the bell. You will be pleasantly surprised. You'll end up binge watching.
Did you watch
everything he does?
Video about the 4-speeds he found in the junkyard today?
I did not.
Okay, I did watch those today.
Videos.
Oh, I was freaking. I was getting my ass kicked, and at lunchtime, I'm like, oh, let me check out this new Steve Magnanti video, and he did one about 4-speeds. And unfortunately, there was fortunately, because it was a Saginaw 4-speed, got filled with water and cracked the case on one of them. But
and don't forget, Dallas has a channel, Mr. Rodder's Neighborhood, and I'm sure Fubar will put up the link to that. Thank you, Fubar. Fubar just keeps things rolling. So
he does. He does.
Yeah, Mr. Rodder's Neighborhood. So
and I'm up to like 50 videos now or something.
Good
something
God.
Ridiculous. I know. I was busy.
You're catching up to me.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, my last few of them just bombed. I don't know why. No one was interested in Buick V8 oiling mods. Come on, guys. And I did it all the way through the whole block. So it was like 3 or 4 days worth of videos. And I saw the very first day that it was tapering off. People didn't want to see it.
Jive Jeff, thank you for the super chat. Happy Wednesday to you, brother. Happy Wednesday to you, brother. Loved your episode on the vapor system you put on the 67. Listen, I'm going to tell you honestly, right? I was disappointed. I was hoping, like, I don't explain it to you. It's like I was hoping against hope that it would actually work, because who wants to have a device that doesn't work? So it's like, okay, say they send me this device, and it's like, wouldn't it be nice if I could stick this on a car and pick up a couple miles a gallon?
Well, did you try it?
Yeah, we tried. We tested it. That was the whole video we put up today. You haven't seen it yet?
No, I haven't seen it because I've been sitting here, right?
It lost about 10%.
It lost fuel economy.
It lost fuel economy.
Okay. I'm kind of wondering what happened if you did it on a huge scale? What happens? Let's just ramp this thing up in like a fuel cell, right? And make a fuel cell size one with a vacuum hose that's 3/8 or bigger going to your carburetor. And just go nuts on this thing.
We could
put a spacer under the carb and put like an inch hose on it coming in.
Wouldn't you have to use like a turbocharger or something to force it in that direction?
I think the vacuum would pull it in, right?
Oh, I don't know.
When you get that big of a tube, it's going to be very small velocity.
Hydrogen is so light. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Applesauce, formerly known as Ultra Kathy, formerly known as Uncle Kathy, put up the link to our new merch. Okay, so guys, here's the thing. We no longer sell merch out of our store. Okay, we still make merch, and the merch will be available. Like, for instance, the Junkyard Jack guys are going to be hitting the roads this year. Al and Ethan with the Slag Hammer are going to be hitting the road this year. They'll be selling merch out there in the world at events and stuff that they go to. But we're no longer shipping merch from here. Instead, we have a Teespring store. And the Teespring store, Uncle Kathy, Applesauce just put the link to the Teespring store. And that's where all of our merch will be from now on, because it's just too much. It's just too much. The dealing with the post office and all of this. Yeah.
The prices went up again just this week.
Jesus. I think the prices, they like now we just shipped something, right? We just shipped something today. Priority is usually 2 days. They tell us now it's 5 days. I don't want to deal with this kind of aggravation. Kathy doesn't want to deal with this kind of aggravation.
The thing I've always noticed in life is this: gas price always goes up. It hardly ever comes down, right? But government like effort and work that you get always goes down and never goes up. Come on, fucking lame asses. Get to work. You need to spend some time in the military where you don't get paid and you work like 18 hours a day every day.
but yeah, it's if you guys, if you have a channel and you're considering doing merch, listen, just go to Teespring. I'm telling you, it is not worth the aggravation. Not worth the aggravation. Undeliverable. I mean, there's you're always putting out little fires here and there.
I got hammered by a guy. I sold him decal, and like he was in Canada.
Right.
Well, you know how the mail is completely effed up going across. Any like international mail is completely messed right now because of COVID. Nobody wants to even touch the mail. They're like, ew, right? But this guy's was waiting from like August until last month. And then he gives me like, instead of, hey man, I never received my package, I get a crap on me from eBay. I'm like, oh, come on, man. So I just refunded his cash, but you know, I was out the international mailing and the product and the whole 9 yards.
Wayne Buzzle just said something. The artist formerly known as Uncle Kathy. You know, here's a little known trivia facts about Uncle Kathy. She actually is an artist, and when we were in New York, she used to do these incredible, like they got the mansions there, right? She used to do these incredible like murals that were in these mansions, these high dollar houses and custom living rooms and all sorts of crazy stuff, right? And she would do these giant murals, and she'd do them by hand. And she was actually very well known and very well respected, very sought after. Her work there. We moved to Tennessee, and the culture is different here, so that sort of thing doesn't really fly. It's like an Italian thing. You got to make it all gaudy and shit.
Right. But, well, maybe Uncle Applesauce.
Uncle Applesauce. And Mr. Will is saying Steve is successful because of his knowledge, kindness, and passion jump out of his videos. Yes. Not everyone is cut out to be successful on YouTube.
No, and that's Steve. He feels genuine. When you see him, he's exactly the same way. I met the guy in the Hot Rod Power Tour 2003, right? He's exactly like you see in the videos. There's nothing fake about the guy at all.
Let's see. Portia, you can see her being an artist. No, she was good. She was really good.
Have you ever seen the Mona Lisa? She didn't paint that.
She did. I missed a super chat. Mr. Will says I missed a super chat.
That $10 one at the top?
Did I miss that? Oh, Brian Isaacs, thank you for the super chat, my friend. Are you furious that Finnegan swapped a 2JZ into his death metal charger? Not really. I mean, there's so many things going on in the world today to be furious about. You know what I mean? That's not one of them. Let's see.
What makes Sid Durach?
Yes.
Says what makes Olds V8 look so wide? They're wide.
They're wide.
The deck height on the block is really tall.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing that's kind of under my skin this week.
PayPal and the IRS?
Yeah, PayPal and the IRS. They're not effing around.
Yeah.
they're like, here's your, what is it, 1099. Oh, great. Well, I'm already paying double taxes on all this stuff. I might as well pay triple.
That's it. The whole system's collapsing. Don't stress it.
There's someone in the process of swapping a Honda K24 turbo into a C6 Corvette. Knock yourselves out. Right?
Let's see. Rant engaged. Uh-oh.
Yeah, that was me ranting about my paying taxes 3 times. That's what I literally do. I mean, merchandise, I don't own a company, so I got to go out and hire somebody to make the stuff that I have, right? And then I pay, Tennessee has sales tax only. So I pay sales tax on top of this stuff, and it's like 10%. 10% is the Tennessee sales tax because you don't have all this other BS tax, right? So it's a good place to live, and especially if you're retired military, they don't tax you on your retirement. But when it comes to purchasing items, you're paying 10% sales tax. So I got 10% sales tax. And then when I sell the stuff, if I make anything on it, I pay tax. And now I got to have a 1099. And if I pay over $600, or if I make over $600, I got to pay even more tax.
Let's see. Gabriel DeMarco, thank you for the super chat, Gabe.
I sent you some California $5.
Yes. Well, Canadian.
I know. I just keep messing around with the I think it's funny.
Rubber Butthole 123. Uncle Tony, what's your favorite concert you've been to? The band you've never heard of. No, seriously, it's a band you've never heard of. Let's see.
Los Cadaver says, super honest, the C6 Corvette is basically the second gen Fiero.
Hollywood BBR. Okay, that's a great question. This came up a couple of times, and good time to answer it. Can nitromethane be mixed with gasoline? No, nitromethane cannot be mixed with gasoline. A small percentage of nitromethane in gasoline. When I say small percentage, 1 or 2% can add. It gives you basically the same effect as oxygenated gas. Once you go past like 1 or 2%, what happens is you get it'll detonate. Anybody who's ever, I'm sure someone in here has tried it. You get some nitromethane and you pour it in your tank. And, oh God, this is going to go fast, right? And you hit the gas and it goes. It's like the most crazy detonation you've ever heard, because gasoline and nitromethane have incompatible properties.
Burn rates.
Burn rates, yeah. So the gasoline starts to light and the nitro says boom. So yeah, no good. Mike Batista, white punks on nitro.
Well, they used to say that the methanol that they put in nitromethane was generally a stabilizer for it.
No,
right?
No, it's an aid to ignition.
An aid to ignition.
Yes.
Okay.
Danny
Boyd wants to know if he can put a VTEC on his Honda overhead valve lawnmower engine. I put nitrous on one of them suckers, and they handle some heat. They will. The only problem is that the head actually turns to like a gelatinous liquid state and falls off.
Let's see. Kind of like when you get moisture in your distributor. I'm not sure.
Oh, no, you get major detonation from it. It's like the worst thing you ever did.
G.G. Allen? No, not G.G. Allen. Zero, Tony, do you really not see gas prices going down anytime soon?
No. Not for 3 more years.
Forget about 3 more years. Nothing is going to go down. Nothing has a chance of going down. It's not going to happen.
I like this one. Tristan Lowe. I know UTG is mostly Mopar, but my grandfather passed away and is in his barn is, no joke, a 71 Chevelle 454 4-speed with air grabber hood.
Induction hood.
Yeah. Has the OG rims on it.
Oh,
I can email pics if you want. Oh, are you trying to sell it to Tony?
No, I don't want
to. The worst mistake ever.
First off, that 71 Chevelle 454 4-speed is just gorgeous.
Those are the single headlight cars, right? That was the best looking ones.
They're the most beautiful things, right? From every angle. I mean, they're just amazing cars. Am I interested in one? No, not even a little bit. I mean, not even slightly. Would I love to see yours? Well, yours is going to look just like every other one I've ever seen, so don't waste your time sending pictures. But yeah, I absolutely love those cars.
Well, they have the best looking headlights and grille out of all of them. The 71 and 2. That's a single headlight car, right? God, they're good looking.
Mr. Will, prices are down 30 cents in New Jersey in the last 2 weeks. Well, look, here's how I go up and down, 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 up and down. That's how
it's more works. Up than down.
Right.
And that's to keep you interested in continuing to buy gas.
Right. The bottom line is the real inflation rate in this country is between 15 and 17% and heading higher. So,
they said this month alone was 7.
That's the official figures. That's not the real figures.
That's the rig numbers.
That's the rig numbers.
On average. Yes.
On average.
Yes. Hamster bedding went down. So that's offsetting our,
right.
Just food, gas, and fuel and heating.
They took food and energy out.
Right. Well,
that's not there anymore because those things don't cost money.
Those are the things that go up. All the other important things like hamster bedding,
applesauce is saying this is not financial advice. Well, I am not a qualified financial, whatever the hell you would call a person like that. And neither is Dallas.
Not at all. We're just two guys trying to make it in this world.
Right. But that's besides the point, right? Get ready to hold on to your underwear, man, because I'm telling you, you're in for an inflation ride like like you just absolutely cannot believe.
I'm looking at trying to get everything self-sufficient at my house to where I don't have to rely on anybody. Oh, you jacked the price of electricity up? Come take it off my house. Right? That kind of thing.
Mopardin, UT, what is your preferential physical silver holdings? 90% silver coin, quarters, halves. See, I'm not supposed to answer
Yeah,
questions.
let's
like
find
that.
another question.
No,
any recommendation on limited slip for us?
No, I'm gonna answer that question because we do have customers. I am in middles, right? I've always been. So the answer to your question is right now. Right now, if I was buying silver, I would be buying junk silver, and I think quarters are your best bet. Junk quarters, halves, yeah, but I think quarters are your best bet. Kathy's saying, "Oh, Applesauce is saying, don't answer that." No, it's cool. I can answer that.
Man, how do we get off on this tangent? Let's talk about something else. What's one of the best topics that we've had? EGR. It does not cause detonation, guys. It does not.
Los Cadavers saying anyone going down the straight 8 rabbit hole should know the parts don't exist, and I'm serious.
Hey, so you know what was really cool? I was laying on my couch sweating bullets while I had COVID-19 and pneumonia, right? And I get a text on my phone and I look at it and it's Rock Auto just to let me know that they've clearanced all Buick V8 engine parts, right? So it was like rod bearings $1.25.
Oh, wow.
Main bearings $4, right? And I'm thinking, oh, I'm so sick. All right, buy the whole lot, right?
So, can't go wrong. Yeah, buy tangible things. Do it now. Desert Duck wants to know where you got the blue plaid shirt. He digs it.
I don't know. I got this for Christmas last year. I don't even. Can you read what that is? I cannot read it.
Why don't you just send it to him?
Oh no, I like this shirt. I like this shirt. Read what that says. I don't know what that says. Can't read that?
Orvis.
Orvis? Okay.
Orvis. His shirt says Orvis.
Google Orvis. Whoever makes an Orvis shirt. I can't even read it.
Roll B68. Hello, Uncle Tony from Staten Island, New York. We need some 87 and 93 Mustang stuff. Roland. Oh, Roland. What's happening? Roland. Roland was, oh, God. Roland saw so many things going on. You want to talk about somebody who's like, you go back to like the history of like the 5-liter Mustang and the dawn of the Mustang movement. Roland was like pre all of that. Roland, yeah, he saw some stuff. He used to manage a pizzeria called, what was the name of your pizzeria, man? I don't remember now. But at any rate, yeah, Roland saw some stuff. Let's see. No, it wasn't Danino's. It was Pizza Town, Pizza City, Pizza. Oh God, what was the name of it? Roland, Kingdom Pizza Kingdom. That was right. The best sausage rolls on earth. The best sausage rolls I've ever had in my life. Poppy on Cycle says Orvis sells $100 dog coats. Real story.
Oh, well, maybe I got a high-end.
It's a high-end shirt.
That's how I roll, okay? I got a high-end flannel. That way I can actually walk outside, cut down a tree, and if it gets torn, it's like $200-$300.
Pizza City. Okay, on Pizza City was on oh wait, no, it was Pizza Town. No, Pizza City. Pizza City was on Cross Bay Boulevard. My grandmother's house was across the street from that. So when you pulled out of my grandmother's house, you made a left, you were looking right at Pizza City. And about 1,000 feet to the right, quarter mile to the right, was the Big Bow Wow. So those were the place where like anybody and everybody who was like into the street racing scene back in like the late 60s, very early 70s, that was it. That was the place. Right. Pizza Town was on New Dorp Lane. So it was Pizza City on Crossway Boulevard.
Jive Hive Jeff says him and his buddy about 10 years ago devised a plan to cut the logo out of the US 30 drag strip that's just still sitting there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, I wish you would have gotten it, but it would be one heavy thing to hang on the wall. God, the asphalt or concrete? I can't remember. I think it's actually concrete under there.
Let's talk beef for sure. Nah. Glad to see UTG's doing well. Hard work pays off. Ching ching. Great discussion. Roland, jump in. Jump in. Start doing YouTube, bro. I'm telling you, you got the history behind you. And you got a couple of cars. Roland still builds race cars. He's still into it. Get out there and do some YouTube. Call me, right? Well, don't call me because I don't answer my phone. Call Kathy. You've got Kathy's number. If you don't have Kathy's number, Neil's got Kathy's number. Call one of us. We'll get you set up. We'll get you going on YouTube.
And you guys don't know how true that is. Tony does not answer his phone. I could be like on fire. If I called him, he would not answer. I'd like 3 hours later as I'm a smoldering mess.
But that's the truth. That's the truth.
So I only call him when it's really important. So that way he answers. Gabriel DeMarco. Hi, Tony in Dallas. If you use longer connecting rods where the piston spends more time at top dead center and you get more crankshaft rotation before cylinder pressure starts pushing the piston downward. So
if you use longer connecting rods with a piston
slower piston speed.
Yeah, you get a couple more degrees of dwell at top dead center. You get more crankshaft rotation if cylinder pressure starts pushing it. Yes, yeah, and you also slow the acceleration and deceleration rates away from top dead center on the piston. So there are benefits to a long rod. The drawback to a long rod, and the reason I'm not crazy about long rods is that they reduce angularity, and angularity makes torque. Right,
yep. And you'll lose torque. The motor will be very rev happy with a longer rod.
Yeah.
It'll like to rev because it doesn't have all that piston speed that a shorter rod brings along with it.
Right. For a pedestrian, okay. So here's the thing, right? Daily driver type of engine, very small throttle openings, and its main purpose is to get you down the road at 40, 50, 60, 70 miles an hour. Long rod, always long rod. Okay. You're going to spin the thing over 6,000 RPM on a regular basis. You're going to make power in the 6, 7, 8,000 RPM range. Long rod, always long rod. In between, drag engine, short rod. Short rod. If the name of your game is acceleration and you're under that 7,000 RPM, upper range, you want to use if you have an option between a long rod and a short rod, use a short rod.
Your long rod motors are always going to be less prone to detonation, I think is also how that works, right? Because the piston speed is slower. It doesn't compress the mass as fast. It doesn't have all that same
There's a
speed.
lot. There are so many different. We'll do a whole thing on rod rate. You're talking about rod ratio, really, because the length of the rod is actually relative to the stroke of the crank. So you can't just say long rod, short rod without including the stroke that you're dealing with.
Yeah,
right?
You have to change some of that sometimes.
So it's rod ratio that you're concerned with, not so much rod length. So a longer rod ratio, right, will give you slower acceleration and deceleration away from the points. Right, you still get maximum speed, but it just moves the acceleration rate of the piston further down the line, closer to 90.
Well, what happens is people don't realize, and I think you showed it in a video the other day, when it reaches top dead center and bottom dead center, okay, so those are points at which it's the slowest speed, right?
Right, zero.
Once it moves away from top and bottom dead center, it actually meets its average, its normal speed through the cycle, right? The shorter the rod that you have, the faster that is, right? Because it has less time at top and bottom dead center. If you sat down and did the math, and you could figure out what the rotation speed was, the average speed at a given rotation, right? You would see that when you change the rod, it maintains the same speed, just as it's occurring in different spots, right? So it's not sitting at top dead center as long, or it's moving away faster.
There's so much to it. We'll do more videos on that topic, because I mean that topic is like the essence of everything.
Well, that 300 Buick I built was like, I'm telling you, is the epitome of this, right? Is a 3.4-inch stroke. It had a 3.8-inch bore and it had 13.6 to 1 compression. The thing would, when I started it up and I got it to fire, the first time it fired, I had the throttle open just a little bit, giving it some air, and the sucker was up at 5,500 before I knew it, right? I'm like, I mean, it just popped. It zinged so quick because of that short stroke, and I put that really long rod, and I put that 350 Buick rod in it. It's 6.385-inch long rod.
The biggest problem with the short rod ratio is that above, and again, a lot of it depends on the type of fuel that you're using and the type of aspiration. But just talking about a normally aspirated engine with a moderate burn fuel like gasoline, you start to outrun the flame front with a shorter rod because the acceleration rate is so great. So remember, the pressure wave has to chase the piston down, and the piston's running away from the pressure
as
wave.
As the chamber's opening, getting larger, right?
Right.
So it loses a lot of its energy. The shorter the rod, the faster the piston moves away from that the top of the cylinder.
Plus, you also have to realize that with a multi-cylinder engine, right, there are other cylinders that now are starting to fire. After the piston's on its way down. So you fired your first piston. The piston's 45 degrees down. The next one is starting to fire also. And what that does, that actually speeds up the rate of deceleration. It reduces the amount of resistance that the flame front is actually seeing. And the flame front needs resistance to be effective. But there's all, we'll talk about all of this stuff. Heads are horsepower. No, Wayne, heads are not horsepower, right? The power stroke is horsepower. Heads feed the power stroke.
Diole,
Oh, man,
Dallas Hot Rod, a Buick Roadmaster wagon. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's the next video I'm going to do.
What's that?
You'll see. Yes, in the next video I'm going to do, because people are always like, oh, the cam makes horsepower, the intake manifold makes horsepower, the exhaust makes horsepower, the heads make horsepower. No, not a single one of those things make horsepower.
Somebody was just asking if I would do a Buick Roadmaster wagon. Diole, yes. 2 times, or let's just say 100 times, yes. I've been looking at them all week this week. I really, because the chassis on those, that's a B-body wagon, right? And then, you know that from 1977 all the way to the end of that run, 1996, that's the same chassis under that car. So virtually any engine that GM offered, or any transmission, so it'd be like turbo 350, turbo 400, 700 R4, 204R, 4L60E, 4L65, 4L6 or 75E, and then you get into the 6R80s will all fit in that stupid thing. It's like the best chassis for if you wanted something that was a broad vehicle. I wanted to get one and put a 300 Buick in it with a 204R and see if I could get above 25 miles of the gallon. So that's me.
Peter Kovacs, is UTG traveling to the No Name Nationals? I will be there for one run.
Are you doing the monkey bike?
No.
I thought you wanted to do the monkey bike.
No. Well, I will be there for one race, one run. Let's see. Tony, if 8 cylinders are firing at every 45 degrees, does cylinder angle affect overall power? Cylinder angle? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Doug Rutley is collecting parts to build a long rod 327.
No, that's cool.
That's about the same dimension as your Buick, right?
But they have a 4-inch bore on that 327.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. And that'd be like a long rod 307. Now we're in.
Tony wants to wet the track, get a trophy.
What's that?
No. We're gonna be match racing somebody. One run, winner take all.
Well, maybe you should tell everybody.
Not yet.
Not yet.
What? Pitachi 2. Are you racing Bottle Rocket versus Casper?
Oh, who told him that?
Probably. But let's see what Andy says.
Yeah, let's hoping that Tony doesn't get the oil down trophy, because man, I don't want to wait around to clean all that up. I'm sure I'd be out there helping the track clean that up.
he used to joke when we had the nitro cars that I was on a mission to make sure that no drag strip in this country would ever rust.
Well, the roads used to be made out of oil material. Just putting it back in its home. That's what Happy Gilmore would say.
Nothing, no drag strip will ever rust as long as we're out there. Let's see.
Varkin Good says, what's the power torque difference between a straight 8, 90-degree V8, or flat 8?
None. They're all firing at the same 45-degree interval.
It's going to be the characteristics of them will be different. It might actually be the same horsepower and torque number, but they're going to occur at different parts of the RPM band, right? Like that's a straight 8 version Buick probably makes torque from like, I'd say 1500 on up, right? I mean, it'd be fairly low because it's just driving the crankshaft down. But it does have that straight 8. I don't know how many main bearings it got. It's got to be like 6.
Somebody said 9.
9? Okay. That's a hell of a lot of main bearings.
How much oil you need to feed 9 main bearings?
A ton. Yeah. Abel D says Uncle Tony Dallas, Costco versus Chevron.
I don't know.
I'm going to go with Costco. I don't even know if it's a comparison, a fair
I
comparison.
have no idea. Yeah, I don't even know what the question is, but
Don't do Lois Cadaver says don't do straight 8s unless you hate money. I'm assuming they're probably pretty expensive. Just Buicks cost money in general, then throw in the straight 8 probably, and then be like, I can't do this. I can't afford it.
I'm sure applesauce. Are you watching? You paying attention to the? So we just launched a video like literally right before we came on the air here. Applesauce, are you monitoring the video? How are we doing over there with that thing?
Okay.
What?
Otto's saying, he says, if 8 cylinders are firing at every 45 degrees, does cylinder block angle affect overall power, i.e. small block Chevrolet versus Pontiac? No, they're all the same angle.
It should not. Uh-oh, she says it's going nuts. How are the comments running? Is there a lot of hate in the comments? Mac Batiste is saying there's no way in hell a 340 is going to make more power than the 70 350 LT1.
I don't think
wrong,
that's true.
Mike. Wrong. Maybe from the factory, maybe as the way the factory assembled and produced them with the limitations of whatever was in the production, but no, you had 340 Mopar and a 350 Chevy of that era, pre-Vortec and all of that, just 1970 340 versus 350. No, bro. No.
She says not too much hate.
Not too much hate. Nice. 12,000 views in 2 hours. That's a strong video. Daniel Jones, thank you for the super chat. UT, could you do a video on how to eliminate the lean burn computer from the 80 slant 6? No, I can't.
You don't even have an 80 slant 6, do you?
Well, I do in Plan Z. No, I can't do that video. I'll tell you why I can't do that video. Because I'll be dead before I can do it. No, I can't do that video because it's too pinpoint Mopar specific and it won't get views. The unfortunate reality of YouTube is that we have to do things that get views. And if I only do a little pinpoint thing on a very specific Mopar,
like oiling block mods on a Buick V8.
Right. So what I do is I use Mopars to illustrate general topics or but I don't do Mopar specific stuff, right? Unless it's like a big generalization, Magnum versus LA, right? A big block versus small block. That's different. But when you get down to that nitty gritty thing, it's like, fixing a Mopar wiper motor. It won't get enough views to make it worthwhile. And in order to pay the bills, we have to generate approximately 25,000 views. Actually, we have to 40,000 views a day pays the bills. So unless I can do a video that's going to get at least 20,000 views, because previous videos pick up the slack. It's not cost effective.
Well, what's funny is the one that you did with the hydrogen. Is this it right here?
Yes.
Okay. And those things have been around for millennia, right? I'm sure my grandfather tried every single one of them. But those things have been around for millennia, and I'm kind of surprised they're still around today, to be honest with you. I don't know how they still stay in business. I guess because fuel economy is always something that everybody's chasing, right?
Joe K, start a second channel called Uncle Tony's Basement to do the less popular and more specific topics. It's hard to do because this channel takes up so much of my time. Now we're doing a bike channel, but I'm doing a bike channel with the Junkyard Jet guys. They're really doing the channel, and I'm just kind of like, I'm just involved, but they're planning the episodes and they're planning the direction of the channel and everything else, and I'm kind of along for the ride. They're using my place, but it's really their channel, so I'm contributing to their channel. But I can't. This mean one literally takes up, like, I'm telling you, I wake up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning every morning, and the very first thing about is, what am I going to do for the freaking channel? And it goes all the way to the time I go to sleep at night. And the last thing that's on my head is like, what am I doing for the channel? So there isn't enough for me to go around.
That's really why I don't call you.
Why's that?
Because you're busy all the time, and I don't want to distract you from anything.
Well, here's the thing: like, you call me and like you want to talk about, like, engine stuff, right, or transmission stuff, or whatever it happens to be. But my head is on video stuff.
Right. That's why I don't even bother. I don't want to screw up your focus on what you're trying to do. And I'm not a big phone guy anyway. I like to just do my stuff, and that's that. I'm just wondering what would happen if we were to take that hydrogen producing thing and increase it by like 40-fold. Could it be something that actually works? Could it do something?
What do you mean? Oh, the hydrogen?
Right. Increase it where it's like a fuel cell. Could it produce enough?
No.
No?
No.
To just
can't
run?
It can't. I was looking at, so, I mean, not to get into the specifics of the, maybe we'll do a follow-up video. It just depends. I want to see what the guys from hydrogen, whatever, have to say. Maybe we'll do a follow-up video on the one we did today. But like on the water thing, okay? You have to drill a hole in the side. They want you to do it in the washer tank, but that car doesn't have a washer tank, so we did it on a separate water bottle. And they want you to drill a small hole in the side of the bottle to fit the tubing through. That has to be snug, and we made it snug, so there's no. And then they want you to drill a hole in the top as a vent, which we did.
No, your hydrogen is going to escape right out the top.
But that's what I'm saying. And what's fair about the hydrogen?
All it's going to do is create a vacuum leak.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I did it. I followed the exact directions, exactly the way they showed you to do it. Drilled the hole exactly where.
Of course, it's going to get better fuel economy. You created a freaking vacuum leak.
So
no, I'm kidding. It should fall on its face and run like shit. But that's dumb.
DOA. I'm not okay. I generally don't like beat my chest or anything. I really don't. I keep a low profile. DOA says, I noticed how the magazine guys are paying more attention to you and copying what you were doing. Let me tell you something, my brother. Okay. And like I said, I'm not bragging. I'm telling you the God's honest truth. Okay. When those guys were in college, right? And I'm talking about these establishment guys, right? Each and every one of them. Okay. All the names that from all of these different, magazines or TV shows or anything like that. When those guys were in college and were in high school and they were in college, they were reading my stuff. I was all over the magazines at that point. My byline was everywhere all the time, right? And all this tech stuff. They were reading my stuff. They grew up reading my stuff. So forget about them copying my, now, right? They've been copying since the 90s. So yeah, keep going, guys, right? You're not going to beat the old man at the game that the old man started. It's that simple. All right. Freddie left you $5. Thank you, Freddie. An 80s Chevette has never looked so good for fuel economy. Might trade my 87 Caprice for an 80s Chevette now. They're fun little cars, man. They were like roller skates.
My dad had a diesel one.
The most dangerous car I ever drove. I almost got fucking killed trying
So
to merge into
anemic.
traffic.
It was so anemic, but it was like at the end of the week, I got 55 miles to the gallon this week. Like, jeez.
I had a customer one. It was a yellow diesel Chevette, and it had like an intermittent problem. So I was driving the car for a couple of days trying to get it to act up. Okay, and I had to take it to Brooklyn, and I went to merge onto the BQE. Okay. And there was this uphill thing into like
no way, you're not going up a hill. No.
Oh god. It was like I tried to merge into traffic and people would just blow it past me. I'm gonna die.
No,
I'm gonna die in this diesel.
I might have told you that when I was with this green unit in the Navy. It was called MIUW. It was a mobile inshore undersea warfare unit, right? Well, we used to share equipment across these units, and there was one in Brooklyn, right underneath the bridge. So they said, hey, go up there and get this deuce and a half truck in Brooklyn. Okay, so I drive this sucker out, and I get out on the Brooklyn Bridge, and it's governed at 45 miles an hour. And there's people honking at me and flipping me off. Fuck you, get off the road. Like, dude, this is as fast as this sucker will go. I mean, I got it to the wood. And that's where I realized New Yorkers, they have a different type of love for you.
Mike Batista says the boomers are anti-EFI. Mike Batista, go back to the 1980s, the late 1980s, okay? And I was the first magazine guy to actually go out there and race with EFI cars. I was in it. I was all in. I was 100% in. Go online now and look for an article, Google an article called From Buick with Balls. I wrote this in 1987 or 1986. Now, one of those 2 years, 1986, 1987. It's out there. I've seen it copied 100 times.
That's the Grand National article.
That's right, the T-type. Read what I wrote in that article, okay? So don't tell me about boomers being afraid of EFI. I started that, okay? And don't take my word for it. It's out there in the freaking magazine or in print. Find the article called From Buick with Balls. Read that. I wrote that, 1987. Then tell me boomers are afraid of EFI.
I'm not a boomer. I'm a Gen Xer, so I can actually do them all.
Let me explain something to you about fear and apprehension. Those are two things I don't have. I was born without them. You know, it's like I wish I had things like fear and apprehension, but I don't have those things. Danny Boyd, you're the tail end of the boomer generation. Yeah, I was born in 62, and the last of the boomer generation was 64. But I was raised by the greatest generation, so I have those values in me.
Oh, LB Bruin 79 says, question for Dallas and Tony. Watching the reruns of Kojak, did you guys know if Kojak's Buick Century was a 350 or 400? I keep trying to see the badging, but it's too blurry. Well, it can't be a 400 unless it's a different model of engine. At that time, Buick would only had the V6, the 350, and then the 455. That would have been your choices.
Mr. Wall says, Tony, I read the article a few weeks ago. It's a great read and held up just fine. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
I was big on the EFI train. I really thought it was, hey, that's the ticket. And I did it for a long time. Even my Thunderbird race car has EFI on it. It has a Holley EFI system. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike Batista says the 90s EFI was a disaster.
Well, no. No.
Let me put it this way, Mike. I only have two priorities. Okay, so everybody has different priorities, and I'll explain what my priorities are, and it kind of explains my stance on things. Okay, EFI is superior. There is no question about it for a daily driver car, right? Yeah, for shit like emissions, which I just do not care about, right? Do I care about the planet? Do I care about global warming? No, I wish I cared, but I don't. I still don't care. It's good for cold weather drivability. Do I care about that? No, I don't care. I could care less, right? It's good for a lot of things, but it's not good for simplicity, which is what I value in my daily driver cars. I want to be able to fix my stuff with a screwdriver and what's in my head. I don't even want to use diagnostic tools. I want to just use my head. Oh, it smells like this. It sounds like this. It feels like this. It's doing this. And I take my screwdriver and I go like that and it's fixed.
I think this guy's just trolling you. He said EFI Fox bodies were slower.
That's not true.
No, not at all.
That's not true. I had the IHRA Pure Stock record back in 1987 with a, and I was racing against carbureted cars. So I had the IHRA Pure Stock record back in 1987, and I had gone 1340 back-to-back 1343s at 101 with that EFI car.
With stock EFI.
Stock. So, I mean, factor. I mean, I'm pure. I raced that car in IHRA Pure Stock, and they were not joking around. Pure Stock meant pure stock. And yeah, Mopar mission only 1986 EFI was slower. That's right, because of the cylinder heads.
I'll bet you $0 EFI 50 makes less power. He's just a troll.
No, he's not a troll. Mike Batista's a good guy. He's a good guy. Sometimes he likes to bust chops a little bit.
I've done nothing. I did nothing but 5-liter stuff from like 1997 to 2015. That's all I did. And my big 427 cleaver motor, I almost put an EEC4 on it because the EEC4 is just so, you can manipulate it so much. And there's so many people out there with equipment to manipulate it.
Well, Mike Batista saying we don't know what carb versus EFI wins. Well, as I was saying, right, my priorities are simplicity and all-out horsepower.
I don't think either one of them wins. It depends what you're doing. If you've got a flat-out drag car, if you don't have a freaking carburetor on it, you're an idiot, right? Because you just spend twice as much to make an electronic carburetor, right? But when you're looking at EFI, you want drivability and take your kids to the grocery store and school. That wins. That thing does. It does. You want trees to live in your front yard? EFI, right? You want long, smoky burnouts and cheap parts? Carburetor. It's that simple. It just depends what you're doing.
On the Rotunda breakout box. Memories, right? Joseph Giannini, I prefer carburetors for time and cost. Yeah. Okay, Bob Bump. So where do we stand? Tony said people with current tech EFI goes back to carb, but 1987 EFI was cool. No troll, but what to buy, sniper or carb? Oh, definitely buy a carb.
Carburetor.
Yeah. Don't even consider one.
And don't even buy a new carburetor. Go buy an older carburetor that's not made in China. Like the ones that have no problems with the ethanol fuel.
Okay. EFI has its limitations. I screwed around with EFI and then realized after a while that I would get better results with carbureted engines, and so I switched. All around. Like my life is better with carburetors than it is with fuel injection. Does that make any sense? Just my life is better in general. I spend less time trying to figure things out and get better net results. Minute spent, dollar spent. I get better results with carburetor than I do with EFI.
I'll tell you what mine was. Mine was this. I had EFI cars, right? And I'd have to buy a fuel pump for it, $365. But then I look at how much is a fuel pump for a big block Buick? Oh, $22, $22 freaking dollars. I could literally buy 10 of those fuel pumps, and I'm still $100 shy of what that one fuel pump cost me for the EFI. One, and that's just one part of the EFI system. Let's say you got a bad injector, okay? You could probably find somebody that's going to sell you one injector, but generally if you go to a parts house, you're going to buy a set of 4, 6, or 8 injectors. Okay, no big deal. $250. Fuel pressure regulator, $200, right? All of this stuff starts to add up to the point where you start going, hold on, man. All in, somebody completely tuned my carburetor for my application is $500, right? So, I mean, by the time you add up all the EFI stuff, was the cool startup in your driveway really worth it? That's the question that you got to ask, because the fuel economy is really not that much different. It's not.
I just saw a thing about Ryan Martin. Where the hell was it?
Eric, what's his name, says he got a sniper. He likes it. Cool, man. I'm glad you're happy with it.
Eric, I'm glad it worked for you. But if you just Google the Holly Sniper, and half the people that get them are miserable with them. They got mystery problems that they're always trying to sort out, and just issues with them. And then the other half are happy with them. And you're lucky you got a good one and you're happy with it.
I'm not saying EFI is not good for racing. Go ask Ryan Martin how much he's got in his EFI system.
Well, wait. we got to talk about this for a second now, okay? Ryan Martin, all right, and the EFI, all of those guys in EFI. Now, you have to understand something, right? The way those guys are racing is in a very traction-limited situation. The whole no prep or minimum prep, right?
Oh, well, that's another thing, because the computer, you can actually traction control, limit the timing and spark and all that stuff with the EFI.
Right. Now, hooked up with no handicaps as far as traction or anything like that goes. No, he absolutely would not have an advantage with EFI. But the fact that they're racing on in a traction limited situation, yes, absolutely, because they've got traction control, and the traction control has to run off of the ignition system and the fuel system. So it's apples and oranges, two different things. Okay. Freddie left you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, he's got it.
57 Chevy.
Yeah, Rochester fuel injection.
I would take a 63 vet. I'll take a 63 vet.
Now, there was one thing I did like about my EFI at the drag strip over a carburetor. When I put a bag of ice on the top of my EFI intake, man, I'd knock a tenth off.
That was the thing, yeah. Oh, please.
Deal with your carburetor. It won't even start afterwards because it's got water in it.
The line at the water hole, if you go back to the 1980s when EFI first came out and first was doing the thing, Englishtown had a water hole, right? Every track had a water hole, right? But anyway, there was a place where there was like a spigot and you go and you cool off your stuff between rounds. Right? In the 1980s, late 1980s, when the EFI thing first took off, there was a line at the water hole. I mean, the water hole was the most popular spot on the entire drag strip. Because anybody with an EFI car at that point, you'd make a run. Seriously, right? This is how we used to run these cars back then. Okay, we would have a separate cool and temp sensor. So the cool and temp sensor wasn't even reading the actual temperature. The cool and temp sensor was just reading ambient air temperature to fatten it up, because they ran them lean back then. It was before people were able to program the computer, so we had to play around with a lot of different things. But you'd make your run. Right, you would coast as far. You'd shut the car off. You'd coast as far, down to the end of the track to the shut off. Then you'd start it up, gun it to get some momentum, shut it off again, and keep doing this and coasting until you get to the water hole. Then after you got to the water hole and you spent 20 minutes cooling this thing down back to ice cold, you would hand push the car back to the staging lanes and only start it when your lane was cold and you had to go. Please, it was a whole routine. It was craziness. But anybody who was racing EFI cars in that era, that was the drill. That's what we all went through.
That
was before your time.
No, it wasn't. I was reading the magazines at that time. I told you that was Mr. Mustang time.
Yeah, me and Mr. Mustang.
Yeah, I was there. I was reading them. Okay. So what is this guy's name? Big Red Cheney 20?
Big Red Channel 20, I guess.
Okay.
Pretty low.
He was saying that his car sat for a month and then 340 fired right up. And that's the same way with my Suburban. Why I love about it, once I got the carburetor dialed in, I go out there, press the gas one time, and starts up, and it goes to 1100 RPM. And then once it's warm, you just kick the gas off the high idle cam, and away you go. But I do like the starting and drivability of the EFI cars. I do. But man, when I tell you what, when you change one thing and you get outside the parameters of that EFI system, you will hate life. If you've ever seen my 94 Ford truck, that sucker's so far outside the computer parameters, it's given me nothing but problems for 2 years. And when it does run good, it runs great. But the headaches that it causes me, God, it's just not worth it.
Yeah, well, it's just it's why I stick with points. Because I don't get me wrong, the car that I drive every day, I've been driving this Jeep Cherokee every day for the last like 3 months, 4 months, and it's fuel injected and it's got electronic ignition, and it's fine. It's not that I have an aversion to, you know what I mean? Like, oh no, I will never touch that. I'm not like that. But to me, right, like it's the reason I stick with points is because I like things completely analog. When there's a problem with my car, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to have to I don't want to have to research. I don't want to have to break out test equipment. I don't want to have to call people or look on forums and see, well, no, if I can't diagnose what's wrong with my car, just using my head and my nose and my ears and what my ass feels like, then I don't want to deal with it.
Mr. Wells says the same thing that I said 20 minutes ago. It depends what you're doing. It's all on the situation.
Thank you, Mr. Will, by the way.
Yeah, and I agree. I like them in their own respects. They're good. And right now, I'm big on the carburetor thing because it doesn't cost a bunch of money.
John Anderson says he has an 11-town car that can get 28 miles to the gallon on the highway. A car would never do that. No, you're wrong, bro. You could get a carburetor to do that.
Well, the thing that's helping him is 1, overdrive.
Yes.
And 2, that small cubic inch 4.6 motor. All you need to do is go get a 289 Ford and put a small carburetor on it and put a T5 5-speed on it. And I bet you that sucker will get probably close to the same mileage. But the 4.6s are good on gas. They really are. I had one. Los Cadaver says, Dallas or UTG, have you ever had a 4-wheel car
convert yourself to 3-wheel car? Yes.
Oh, no, not down the strip. I haven't.
Well, Bottle Rocket, I ended up oiling the entire dragster because I didn't know I had lost a freaking wheel. I thought it broke a spring. The suspension on that car is such that when the back wheel came over, snapped an axle. It didn't have I didn't have a C-clip eliminator on it, but it snapped an axle. It sent the wheel and the axle out. I felt a bump like this, but there was nothing dragging on the ground because the car is it's a little on the nose heavy side and it's got a high suspension, so it wasn't dragging on the ground. So I said, oh, I must have just broken axle because the car was just rolling along just fine. So I drove, not a broken axle, I broke a spring. So I drove it to the end of the track, drove it to the shutoff, drove it back to the pit. Didn't realize that it had left the wheel, and I oiled the entire drag strip.
Are you really going for the longest oil down award? That's what John Wilburn says.
Oh, I have oiled. Please, that was nothing compared to what we've done with the top fuel cars. Anthony Cox, did you ever fill your driveline with foam?
No.
Well, I want to try it now. Where can we get enough foam to fill
cans? Okay. Cans of foam.
Let's do it.
I heard it actually makes the transmission shift really good. Like
foam?
Hard, yeah, firm, hard shifts. So Andy's on here trolling you now.
Andy, are you trolling me?
No, he said, can't wait for the no-name nationals. That's something we haven't talked about for a while. The no-name nationals. He said, wait till we get later on in the show. So we got an event. It just like last year's big event, which was the Slanted Nationals, which would probably it'll be back this year. I just need to figure out some dates, times, and places and all that stuff. But we got this one's a little bit different. This is the No-Name Nationals.
No name.
Right? We didn't even bother coming up with a name for this thing. But
it doesn't need a name. It's that good.
Right, exactly.
That it doesn't need a name.
But it's calling out all the YouTube content creators with engines and wheels to participate in this historic inaugural event, as John Wilburn would say. But it's virtually a race for YouTube content creators and to get them all in one place. And then you as the fan, you can come meet them all. So that was kind of the idea behind this, and give them something to actually race and brag about. The content that they've already created, the stuff that they will create. They have an opportunity to come running at the track. So it's August 26th and 27th at Jeffers Motorsports Park.
Um, Tedesco 455. But if you were street racing, you were in a traction limited situation in Mexico, of course. Well, now here's the difference. If you or I go to Mexico to go run each other, we're not making 3 laps or 4 laps to test out the, you know what I mean? We're showing up, we're rolling off the trailer, or we're driving to where we're going to go and we're going to have at it. Okay. We're not whipping out the laptops and doing all these things. When those guys street race, they're really professional racing, and they're doing it in a you know, they'll go out and make a couple of runs. They get a feel for the track. They service the car. While they service the car, they make their adjustments. That's not street racing. You know what I mean? So there's no advantage at that point.
So Matt S says, Dallas, is there going to be a fuel vapor class to see who gets the worst mileage?
Oh, Jesus.
John Wilburn says there is also a car show that the purists will cringe over. We're not looking for your car show car. There's a million car shows. This is like the anti-car show, I guess. The bring it out. We don't really care what it looks like. As John said, a refrigerator with wheels, put it in the car show. So that's kind of what we're focusing on. It's supposed to be a race for the regular rest of us.
Yeah. What's this now? Roger Bell, Tony, I was hoping to race you the pro against me, the schmo, but I'm not a content creator. I'm already spoken for that race. We've already got a race lined up for that event.
Mike Batista says, who wants to build a car to race the junkyard jet? I don't even know if they're going to have their car together yet.
It's possible. I mean, I don't know. I hope they get it together. I hope they'll be able to make it.
Can Teslas attend? If you built a Tesla and you have 500 subscribers on your channel, sure. Yes. Andy Wood says the Anything Goes car show. Yes.
Disco Mobile, Tony, what fuel saving experiments are you doing next? Depending on how this video goes, because remember, I gotta keep stressing this. This is a business, you know, so I have to go with what sells, with what, you know what I mean? So if this video gets a good enough traction, then there's a couple of different, you know, well-known fuel saving devices that are on the market that I may buy and do a similar thing with. But let's see what happens with this one. And for the record, right? For anybody who's watching this now, is going to watch that video, right? And if you mention the guys who made these things or whatever, for the record, I was hoping it did work. I was hoping that it would create something that I was hoping that it would open my mind to new ideas, and I would have a new thing, a new path to look at, and so on and so forth. And the fact that it didn't work was a letdown.
Well, here's where you want to know where the failure is at on this thing. The failure is they got you going. What they're trying to do is they have you using a rubber hose, and then you create a pseudo second carburetor, right?
Yeah,
that's what they got you doing.
And
now, if there's,
you're right, and feeding it through a PCV valve,
right? So if there was a different way to add the hydrogen in, I think it might actually be beneficial, because if you think about it, it's just another fuel, but the volume that you would need, is there any way that it can be applied? That's what I'm wondering.
Well, so the fire is less intense, right? And you're right. Well, but you're not using in the case of a gasoline car where you're adding hydrogen, you're not doing anything to. What you're doing is you're lighting the fire that much quickly, because the hydrogen lights very fast. So instead of having to run, let's say 20 degrees, all right, so picture this now, right? You've got one drop of fuel. You got one drop of fuel. And that one drop of fuel has to be spread out, has to be atomized and vaporized and spread out over the space of your bore, okay? In order to get that one drop of fuel to spread completely and make an active pressure pulse to push the piston, you have to light it 10, 20, 30 degrees before top dead center. But if you add hydrogen to the mix, the hydrogen then becomes the ignition point. And so you have to light it at, let's say, only 5 or 10 before, which means that you have more fuel, or more of that drop of fuel is able to push the piston that much further down.
Well, actually, your burn rate's going to be longer too.
Yeah,
because you actually have more fuel in there with hydrogen and gasoline.
yes, that too. Yes. But
I'm kind of wondering if the hydrogen is displacing oxygen in the cylinder. And if that is that going to change anything? Are you going to need to rejet the carburetor?
I don't know.
Should you lean it out? And that's the thing where that if this thing would have worked, you could have played with it and really learned something from it. But I don't think the application of it is ideal. There's got to be another way to make it work well.
Vargan Good says, I see Ferrari has a patent for an enclosed plug arrangement that pre-ignites a charge and it introduces into the cylinder. Well, you know what? The Ferrari guys should have been paying attention to the Honda guys 40 freaking years ago, because 50 years ago, because Honda
CCV.
was the CC, yeah, the stratified charge.
Or
Honda
CVCC.
was doing it, the CVCC. Honda was doing that in 1876, stratified charge. What it had was the spark plug. Instead of the spark, it had three intake valves, or two intake valves rather. It had the regular one, you've had in the combustion chamber, and then it had a pre-combustion chamber with a little tiny intake valve. And the spark plug was in this isolated chamber with that tiny intake valve, and it would light that first. And the fire from that is what spread into the combustion chamber and lit the bigger mixture that drove the piston. That's called stratified charge. And like I said, Honda was always a regular production Honda. They built millions of them. They were all over the place. And they stopped because it was an emissions thing. They couldn't meet emissions anymore with the stratified charge. But yeah, no, that's been done. Tell Ferrari to eat a dick. Mr. Will, thank you, sir. Tony, but a lot for your success is your personality and passion. The intangibles are just as important as the content. Not everyone can have a YouTube channel that makes money. Oh, I appreciate that, Mr. Will. I appreciate that. Thank you. Dallas is going to be a huge YouTuber.
I'm just a YouTuber. I had no intentions of doing that either, but I figured it was a good way to do something. I was going to do all the stuff anyway. So check out Mr. Rotter's Neighborhood. Earlier somebody said that somebody from Michigan might copy my channel and come up with Mr. Rotter's Neighborhood.
Really?
And it's like, how cheesy would that be?
It
you know
would
what I
be.
mean? You're like the third iteration of the name. Mine's just a play on words.
Mickey Thompson had 3-valve Chevy V8 heads. It's not the third valve. It's the third valve.
Pre-combustion chamber.
Is in a pre-combustion chamber. I mean, Nasty Dave Benjamin was built in 3-valve Chrysler Hemi heads for nitro motors in the 1970s.
I'll tell you what's here. Something really interesting that I found the other day. Okay, and I know it may not make you all that excited or whatever, but here's something really interesting for you. You remember I told you that when we did the history of the Buick 215 and all that, how like spread out all over the world, right? One of those branches was the Oldsmobile version, but it was used in Australia as the Repco V8 for Formula One.
Okay, right, yeah.
The Repco had a modified assembly that you could actually bolt to the top of the head and make it overhead camshaft, right? And I started thinking, well, dang, that block is the same as a 300 block, and a 350 Buick crank will fit in the 300. So you could come up with 364 cubic inch, use the aluminum heads from the Buick, right? And put the overhead cam Repco setup that bolts to the top of the head. How freaking cool would that be, though?
Would it be better than the pushrod setup?
I have no idea, but I know that you would hurt people's brains.
You would hurt people's brains. All right. Wait, let's talk about.
I just did. You don't remember talking about that?
Well, no, but did you get into the details about? So to participate, you have to have 500 subs.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Did you get into that?
No, I did not get into that. So this is not made for every regular person out there.
Right. No, anybody can come and spectate. Anybody, it's open to anybody to come and spectate. But if you want to participate in the actual competition, you have to have 500 subs. So if you guys want to come start working on your subs right now, and like I know we have a lot of regulars with smaller channels. If we can help you get the subs, we'll do it. Just like right now, You know, tell people I want to go race. I need 500 subs. You know, let's get as many participants as we can involved in this. There's a lot of people who want to build cars specifically for this event.
Well, you want me to tell you the coolest thing that happened today with this? There's a guy up in Idaho, and he has a channel called Bad Rose Garage.
Okay.
I think like 55 or 100 subs, something like that, right? He's like, I'm going to go, and I'm going to have 500 subs by the time this event happens, and I'm bringing a 72 Ranchero to give to an aspiring YouTuber that needs a content vehicle, right? And he's like, I'm bringing it down from Idaho, and we're going to unload it. It's going to happen. Someone's going to get this car for free. And so he left it up to myself and John Wilburn to figure out how to pretty much, give away this guy's car or whatever. But it is a project car, but it's coming from Idaho, which is kind of cool because that's cars up there it's like high desert, and it doesn't have all that much rain. It has some snow, but they don't salt the roads. They sand them, don't they? I think they sand the roads up there. But and that's where you use chains.
Dust Over Garage says he's building a car from scratch on my channel for the race. That's awesome. That is awesome.
That is sweet.
Yeah, Dust Over Garage, guys, go over there and check out the car he's building specifically for Dallas and John's race. And this is, by the way, this whole thing is a combination. It's a combined effort of John Wilburn, Supermod John Wilburn, and Dallas.
Yeah, we just worked together and high-fived over the phone and got this thing working.
Right.
So it is 225 days until the No Name Nationals.
Hey, Tony, what do you think about an extra pulse and direct injection to help chase the pulse down the cylinder? It's done with diesels. I don't think you can do it with gasoline. Brad O'Connor, there was a flathead that has a chamber for the spark plug. I think it was called a Focus Point Fire Engine, something like that anyway. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the basic idea of stratified charge has been around for a long time, but Honda put it into production, and it was the regular thing.
Devil Plays Bass, will you live stream the event? Yeah, so we're going to be, it's actually all the content creators are going to be there, so you're going to see it live streamed from probably, 150, 200 different angles? So you can catch whatever part you want of that entire No Name Nationals.
Saldana, rotary engine, 4-stroke engine, any designs that made it to production? I don't believe so.
Rotary valve.
I don't know enough. I mean, I know what a rotary valve engine is, but I don't know enough about the dynamics at work.
I think that the reason why that one never went into any production was because didn't the Formula One guys move from rotary valve to the
pneumatic?
Right. And they just left that technology behind because they realized that the pneumatic was so much better.
Bang Shift and Simul TV want to be there. Well, there you go.
Huh.
You guys are gonna get rich off of this.
Well, I don't want to get rich off. I just want to put
I'm going to be out there washing your car.
Tony, now get to work. Yeah, well, me and John put a lot of effort into it, so hopefully it does work out.
Hollywood BBR. Hey, UTG, where's that tool, Brian Cabral? He's in his mom's basement. He's polishing up his spider tattoos.
Well, did you see that on John's live last night? Someone posted it up that you should race Brian Cabral, and if he wins, you got to get spider tattoos on your hands, and if he wins, he gets 6 cartons of your hand-rolled cigarettes.
I have to lose all my teeth too. I don't think the guy's got any teeth. I feel bad for him. I swear to God, I really do. I don't. I know that a lot of my regulars have a lot of animosity towards the guy. Don't pity them. Just pity the motherfucker. It's a shame.
Well, no, Tony's Los Cadaver. Tony's going to be there, and he's got a match race set up. He doesn't want to let the cat out of the bag, so we haven't given any details of it. But he's got a match race set up, and it's, what do you say? Right off the trailer. Right off the trailer.
Off the trailer. One run right off the trailer. Winner takes all.
Dan's Garage. Just starting out my channel. Got about 25 videos. I'm starting an engine bill for my 65 Mustang. You'll have 500 subs in just a few months, man. You'll easily make it by August. I just started doing it, November the 9th, and I'm up to like 350 subs, something like that. It'll probably take me another month or two, and I'll be up at 500.
Anybody, would you please just go over there now and sub to Dallas's channel, Mr. Rodder's Neighborhood?
I got to have 500 to go to my own event. Come on, guys. I really need
right, exactly. I can't even register his own event.
But they were talking today. There was a few guys asking about a tow pig class. Race their tow rig.
That's a good idea. Mopar Denny's 352 subs. Please go over there and sub to Mo. Come on, we got 363 people, 360 people on this live right now. If everybody goes and subs to everybody else,
yeah, we'll be there.
Just go sub to just everybody. Let's just get it. Let's get a sub thing going here. Let's build our community.
All right. What was I just going to do? I was going to go sub to Mopar Den. That's what it was. Isn't that who said that?
Yes.
Mopar Den. Oh, man. Subscribe and ring the bell.
Golfy09. Hey, UTG, since the vapor system didn't work, do you get your money back? They sent it to me for free. They sent it to test.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
At least they didn't cost you any cash. Are you going to try it like 10 different ways now?
No.
No?
Unless the vapor guys can point out where I made a mistake and I should go back and retry it this way. If they come up with something like that, then yes, I will go out and try it again. No question about it. Because I'm giving them the benefit and I want to see it work. I swear to God, I really do want to see it work. It wasn't trying, and I know it sounds like counter to the things that I've been saying, that, this won't work, that won't work. I want somebody to prove me wrong. I honestly do, because I want to learn. If there's new, if there's new things to learn, I want to learn them. If somebody has a better idea, I want to understand it and I want to try to expand on it. So I wanted this thing to work and it didn't work. If they get a hold of me and say, well, if you had done this and you had done that and we would have different results, then yeah, we'll give it another crack. So let's see what happens.
Joseph Gianni, I need to set up something like lemons, and I've kicked that idea around. It's hard to do drag racing with like lemons. I mean, I can easily do it, but then you're kind of committed to having something there, right? So this one, we're going to see how it goes. I really need an event that does well where I can put the money back into multiple different events, and I just haven't had a lot of good luck.
Uncle Applesauce says Rapid Transit Garage already signed up and needs 150 subs. All right, let's get Rapid Transit Garage has 150 subs.
He's Rabid Transit Garage.
Rabid Transit. Okay.
Yeah. Did you see his logo? It's like the coolest logo in the world. It's you know how the Mopar red, white, and blue logo is? Like from the 60s stuff. It's got red, white, and blue, like in a square.
Yeah.
His is the same way, except for it's got also in the center a red, white, and blue play button.
Okay.
For like a YouTube play button. I thought it was pretty cool.
Sean Hamilton, do you still have my Jeep? Sean, is that the red one? Because yes, I still have it.
Or is that the Eep Hero?
The Eep Hero. Yeah, I puked the transmission on it, and I'm considering doing a Magnum swap on the thing.
Man, you're all over the place with that thing.
I know.
If you do a Magnum swap, you're going to have to swap the axles. You're going to have to swap this and that and all the other stuff.
Not necessarily.
Man, it'll munch them axles up like no problem.
It's got an 8 1/4 in the rear, and it's got that little
dinky 44 up front.
Yeah.
We'll
see.
You just need a dustpan. Just put a dustpan and a broom in there.
You miss it? You want it back?
Eric Christensen says, hey, guys, I've got a question. Maybe you could help. Okay, shoot.
Sean, it like I said, I puked the tranny on the thing.
It's yours. 1,800. Bring your own tranny.
No, I'll give it back to. Well, I mean, so here's the thing. I didn't really puke the tranny. The tranny kind of puked itself. I was just driving it, and then the thing went away. If you want to give me what I paid for, if you want to give me back what I gave you for it, yeah, man, come and get it.
Mr. Will, Tony, should I start a channel, Dying Breed Garage? Just praising all the channels here. You think I will get subscribers? You know what? That's a tough question because if you don't have any content, you probably won't get subscribers. But if you have some content, you easily have 500.
Sean, how? Sean, send. Okay, go to Uncle Tony's Garage at gmail.com. Uncle Tony's Garage at gmail.com. And put Jeep in the subject matter and put your phone number in there. And I'll call you tomorrow.
Abel D says, Dallas, thoughts on top hat cylinder sleeves for Leyland V8? And I'm thinking what he means by top hat isn't the one, those are the ones where you bore the sleeve and at the very top of it has the lip that catches the top of the block.
Yeah.
I think that's what he means by top hat cylinder sleeves, right? I'm not a fan of sleeving them, but I know that those blocks are aluminum and they were they were cast around those sleeves, right? So they're stuck in there. You got to bore them out to put some other sleeve in there if you want to go bigger. I'm not a fan of doing that. We already talked about it at the very beginning of the video. It weakens the strength of the block, and then it being aluminum on top of that, I think it's just a recipe for disaster, to be honest with you.
Paul Sims, I'm fairly new here, and I missed who your friend is there. This is Dallas, and Dallas owns the American Hot Rod Association, and he has a channel called Mr. Rodder's Neighborhood, and he's here every Wednesday night, and we do lives.
Yep. And we talk about all the things in the world, sometimes not even car stuff, sometimes financial advice.
Which we're not supposed to give.
Right. According to the applesauce, right?
Sean just sent me your number. Okay, I'll give you a call. Kat, do me a favor. I'll call him. I'll call him as soon as the show is over. Get his phone number out of gmail.com and text it to me, and I'll call. Sean, I'll call you as soon as the show's over.
That's me, Paul Dallas Brown.
Art the Fiddler, did the vapor test account for the gasoline in the vapor bottle or just the gasoline in the little tank? Just the gasoline in the... Wait, did the vapor test account for the... No, it didn't account for the vapor bottle, just the one in the auxiliary tank that I made.
Ari says, I subscribe. I can use both car and financial advice.
Tony, who both moonlighted CPAs.
Yeah, I'm about the furthest from that. I'm like, my wife hates it.
No, I actually do know I've been in precious metals for a long time. So if you have any questions about that, I'm cool to answer them.
I've been in precious metals super long. All of my precious metals like American iron.
Oh, that kind of precious metal. Yeah. I've been into that even longer.
Oh man, Joe Brennan says, how will a large vacuum leak affect your manifold vacuum reading directly off of the vacuum tree on the manifold? Well, your vacuum is going to be super low. It'll be like 12 inches of vacuum.
It depends on, it depends what kind of cam is it.
Well, yeah.
It's a mild cam, but a mild cam could still have, Jesus.
A large vacuum leak is going to look on a vacuum gauge will show relatively low vacuum.
A very unsteady needle too, right?
Right. It'll be shivering or shimmying around back and forth like this.
Kyle Teal, what's your thoughts on nitropropane? That's an interesting thing. Did you know that back in the 70s there was a racer, his name was Barry Setzer. Ran funny car, right? Ran Top Fuel for a little bit. Ran funny car.
Did he actually drive them?
No.
Okay, he hired somebody. Yeah, they hired guns, right?
Yeah, he was a furniture dealer in North Carolina in the 70s, and he had a hitter car, and that car was run exclusively on nitropropane. This was I guess it's 1973, 1974. At some point,
that's an interesting combo.
At some point, I think the NHRA changed the rule book to read specifically nitromethane. But he was running that car on nitropropane. And in 1992, or maybe it was 1993, the Angus Chemical had a fire, and it put their nitromethane production out. So that's when the Chinese nitro started coming in, and all we can get was Chinese nitro, and it was really expensive.
That was the 90s, you said?
It was 1992.
So you want me to tell you what really caused that?
Go ahead.
That was the Oklahoma City bombing.
No. It was before then. It was before.
Oh,
then.
right before then?
It was before then. I had my phone tapped after the Oklahoma City bombing because I was trying to buy a freight car, a railroad car full of Chinese nitro. I had a bunch of funny car racers up on the East Coast.
And you were going to sell to them, right?
I was going to sell to them.
Yeah.
So I was trying to buy a railroad car. I even had an interpreter, the guy who was talking Chinese going back and forth. I was trying to buy a rail car of nitromethane, and then I was going to distribute it amongst racers.
Uh-huh.
And my phone was tapped, and I was just at the time, because I get that beep every, whatever the interval was, I go beep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
oh, crap, the feds are on my line.
Oh, please. It was a crazy time, right? But I had financing for it and everything. It was like these guys were pulling up the cash.
So what happened? Did it just fall through?
Yeah, it was just too complicated. There were too many
moving parts
to jump through, right? So it didn't work out. And everybody got their money back, of course. But previously, the question was about nitropropane. So Barry Setzer had been running on nitropropane and nitrobutane. I forgot about that too. Nitrobutane was another one. So when the chemical plant had the issue and there was a nitro shortage, I started looking at nitropropane and nitrobutane. And I had talked to people who had worked with Setzer back in the 70s. And now I don't remember the details exactly what they told me, but there were things that were incompatible with the way we were running the cars at the time. This was like the 1980s, and so I didn't pursue it any further. But nitropropane and nitrobutane have both been used as fuels in funny car racing.
Huh. That's interesting. You know, Barry Setzer, I think that's probably Brian Setzer Orchestra's band, or like it. Brian Setzer Orchestra is a band, current band.
Okay.
That's got to be his father.
I don't know.
He writes music about 57 Chevrolets and stuff. He was played in the Cars. He was in the band The Cars.
Well, it's possible. I don't know. I have to Wikipedia that.
Yeah.
Let's see. UTG, the Men in Black are watching your gas saving secrets. It's the intradimensionals I worry about, not so much the Men in Black.
Mopar Al says, Dallas, what's your channel? Mr. Rodder's Neighborhood.
Mr. Rodder, Rodder.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's probably 50 episodes up there. Nitropropane is said to be safer with gasoline?
I don't know anything about that.
I don't know if you could even.
You're thinking about propylene oxide. Propylene oxide is the one you mix.
Rocket fuel, right?
I don't know what. No, hydrogen is rocket fuel. I think more propylene oxide is possible, but propylene oxide is the thing that you mix with gasoline.
Stray Cats, that's who it was. Stray Cats, not the Cars. Brian Setzer's from Stray Cats. I wonder if his dad is Barry Setzer that ran these dragsters or the funny cars, and he had a pro stock car too, like a Vega.
He was spending a lot of money, and he had actually one of his cars. He had a, I think Leyland Kolb drove it, but he built a monocoque top fuel car, short wheelbase top fuel car that's in the Garlitz Museum now.
Abel D. Dallas, where are you putting the Leyland V8? I don't have a Leyland. I have a Buick 215, which is the predecessor to the Land Rover 3500.
So Fubar just put up the link to Mr. Rodder's Neighborhood, Mr. Rodder, there. So go over there and please subscribe and hit the button and all of that stuff. Let's see. Brian Setzer was right. Okay.
Dude, we're up on 2 hours already.
I know.
That flew by.
It did fly. Pac Middle. Hey, Tony, quick question. I have a 2006 Hemi 5.7, and I just want to know, is it worth keeping it? They're good motors. I mean, if you're not having any problems with it.
Especially low RPM. Don't they have, that's the only thing they have is the oiling problem on the lifters.
Yeah, we covered that. We covered that in the video. Go watch that video. I mean, just don't idle it for long periods of time. And if you are idling it for long, like you're stuck in traffic, pop it in neutral and give it a little gas every like minute or two, just to make sure you got oil spray all the way up at the top.
Will an engine run on acetylene? Yes, it will.
It's not well, not well.
But it'll run on acetylene and acetone. Have you ever ran one on acetone?
Yeah, I've run them on hairspray. I mean,
oh man,
playing around, I have poured everything you could think of pouring into an engine and running it on. So I've done it. I've done it all.
Man.
All right. So, Mr. Will Tone, is it better to have more views per video or a lot of subscribers? You don't get paid by subscribers. And once you get to a certain point, once you get over, let's say, 8,000 or 10,000 subscribers, what happens is the subscriber number only means one thing, okay? When you put a video out, you're going to get approximately 10% of your number of subscribers in the first day. So if you have 100,000 videos, or if you have 100,000 subscribers, and you put out a video, you should expect to get approximately 10,000 views the first day. Some videos won't make it. Some videos will go crazy over that, right? But we're working off the Pareto principle, all right? And you know what the Pareto principle is, right? The 80-20 rule. So if you have 100,000 subs, approximately 80% of your videos are going to get approximately 10,000 views in the first day. That's really all the sub count means. You can have 2 subs, but if you have a video that gets, 10 million views, you're going to get paid for it.
Well, you're not going to get paid at all because you only got 2 subs.
Oh yeah, right.
You have to have
right.
like what 1,000 before you can get paid.
Yes.
All right. So Abel D says, Dallas, I have 2 4.6 Rover V8s out of a 2001 Range Rover P38, looking to carburet it. Abel D, send me an email at dallas@ahraonline.com and we can chat about it. I can tell you how to do it. I can even tell you how to put GM HEI on that sucker.
Okay, Sean, I got your number here.
Okay. Dave Norman says, when I was a kid, I blew up my neighbor's lawnmower with acetylene. I think that's or xylene. You should have heard it rev before bang. I nitrous one.
Boss Racing, did you ever see the 4-motor Buick run once at Englishtown? It was their farewell tour in 1988, 1989. I don't remember. But there was something with the, it only ran on 2 motors. There was something happened somehow with the engines that powered the back wheels. So.
Well, I'm saying that was an odd thing because they were all Buick nailheads. And then when 1975, you couldn't even get a nailhead from like, you could buy them from engine remanufacturers, right? But the part supply of those things were drastically down. The government used to use 2 Buick nailhead 425 Wildcat motors as startup engines for the P71 Blackbird, right? Is that right? The Blackbird, whichever had the start cart.
I'm not a plane guy.
Yeah, whichever had the start cart, they were Buick 425s. And they had to move to a big block Chevrolet after 75 because they couldn't get replacement engines from General Motors.
Well, now, did you know and I don't remember, I mean, I'm sure somebody in here will know what I'm talking about. There's one of those places that does a crash testing where they pull the car on a cable. On a cable. Mm-hmm. Okay. To this day, they still use a pair of 426 Hemis.
Really?
Originally, they bought these motors new from Chrysler back in the day when they built the whole setup, like 1970s. I think looking at the engines, they look to be like 70, 71s by the valve covers.
Uh-huh.
But to this day, they still use a pair of 426 Hemis to pull the cable.
Well, you can get parts of those all day long. Yeah, that makes sense. I wonder if those are set up hydrostatically. That would be so cool just to see how it functioned, right? Because I can't see it having something like a direct drive shaft with a clutch, and then it just wraps stuff.
It's got to have something.
There's got to be something to it. Uh,
Uh,
Two-stroke Detroits. I don't know about that because those things, those start carts needed to turn RPM. They talked about the Buicks revving up to like $5,000, $6,000.
I think we need to wrap it up.
I'm good with that.
Are you good with that?
Yeah.
I'm good with that too.
Don't forget No Name Nationals, August 26th, 27th for YouTube content creators. If you want to see your favorite content creator, I don't know who yours is, but Tony's going to be there.
Well, just for
One and done.
Don't go there to meet me because I'm going to be in and out. I got one race. We're gonna and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. I got one race, so don't. I mean, I don't have time to be there all that time. But there's going to be a lot of other people there. What else is there?
Don't forget to stop by Tony's new merch store.
Yes.
Pick up some of their new merch.
Yes, our merch is on Teespring now. It's no longer in our store. So go to Teespring now. And Fubar put the link to that already. Thank you, man. I so appreciate everything you do. That's it. Right.
And get over to ahraonline.com and pick you up some merch, buy a membership, whatever you want to do.
Yes. Okay.
There's Applesauce putting up your link.
And what else?
Fubar's got your. There you go. Is your? I don't know what that is.
Yeah, and
a link to something.
And to anybody, who needs to hear this, that's on the West Coast, right? I'm coming to eat your fucking lunch. All right, and that's it. So, my guys, all of our awesome mods, John, Ari, Fubar Zero, thank you so much. Right. Everybody contribute super chat.
We got the best group.
We got the best group. We have. I'm so grateful for our people here. Everybody contribute super chat. Thank you so much. Your contributions help keep everything rolling, and we get to play all day long. Thanks to you guys, and everybody who contributed with just with your presence and your good conversation and your good questions and everything. Thank you so much.
Even your good trollingness.
Even the trolls. I even like the trolls. It's like, say whatever you want to say about me, right? Just don't spell my name wrong. All right. So that's it, guys.
Yep. See you next week.
Yeah, we're going to pull a plug. I'll see you tomorrow. And we're going to hit end stream and we're going to hit end.
Yeah.
And we're out.
We're out.